The massive interstellar ark drifted silently through the black void of space, its sleek design a marvel of humanity's ingenuity and ambition. The ship's hull gleamed faintly, reflecting the light of distant stars, and within it lay the last remnants of Earth, hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children suspended in cryosleep. Encased in glowing pods like fireflies in a jar, humanity slept peacefully, waiting for the day they would awaken to a new world, a fresh start. Captain Naira Kale of the Oranthian Recon fleet didn't like the look of it. She stood on the bridge of her scout vessel, the Erythian, her 6 limbs braced against the control panel as she stared at the human ark displayed on the viewscreen. The humans had been a whispered legend in galactic history, a species so dangerous that an unspoken rule had evolved across the galaxy: do not engage with humans. Do not wake the humans. Do not provoke the humans. Naira's second officer, a lithe, multi-eyed creature named Vec, hovered nervously nearby. "Captain, the Council will not like this," Vec said, his many eyes flicking between the ark and Naira. "We should leave. Now." Naira's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "And let some scavenger stumble across this?" she asked, her tone sharp. "No, Vec. If the legends are true, and humans are as dangerous as they say, then this ark poses a threat to every species in the galaxy. We need to assess it." "Assessing it might mean waking them," Vec muttered, his voice low but laced with fear. "And if even a fraction of the stories are true, Captain, waking the humans would be the last mistake we ever make." Naira turned to face him, her compound eyes glinting with determination. "We're scientists, Vec. Explorers. We don't run from the unknown. We confront it, study it, and understand it. If the universe has one rule, it's that knowledge is power." The Erythian approached the ark cautiously, its scanners probing the ancient ship for signs of life or danger. The ark's systems were surprisingly intact, its design both elegant and brutally efficient. Naira felt a twinge of admiration for the humans who had built it. Whatever else they might have been, they were clearly brilliant engineers. "Captain, I'm detecting faint energy signatures within the ark," Vec reported, his voice trembling. "Cryogenic support systems are still active. Life signs are minimal but stable. The humans are alive." Naira's mandibles twitched in what could almost be called a smile. "Good. Let's dock and take a closer look." The Erythian extended its docking arm, latching onto the ark with a metallic clang. Naira led the boarding party herself, her curiosity outweighing her caution. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dark, silent corridor lined with rows of cryopods. Each pod glowed faintly, casting an eerie blue light across the metallic walls. "Stay alert," Naira said, her voice low but firm. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." The team moved cautiously through the ark, their scanners and flashlights cutting through the darkness. The pods were arranged in neat rows, each containing a human in a state of suspended animation. Naira's eyes lingered on one pod, its occupant a young woman with a peaceful expression. Despite herself, Naira felt a pang of something akin to guilt. These people had been asleep for centuries, maybe millennia, and here she was, invading their sanctuary. "Captain, over here," one of her crew called, breaking her reverie. Naira turned to see Vec standing near a console, his eyes wide with alarm. "What is it?" she asked, striding over to him. Vec pointed to the console. "It's some kind of automated system. It's been running diagnostics on the ship's cryogenic systems. But look at this." Naira peered at the screen, her eyes narrowing. The console displayed a series of warnings and alerts, written in a language she didn't recognize but could partially decipher thanks to the Erythian's translation software. The gist of it was clear enough: critical system failure imminent. Manual intervention required. "The cryopods are failing," Naira said, her voice grim. "If we don't do something, these humans will die. And that's a problem because..." Vec asked, his tone incredulous. "Captain, with all due respect, letting them die might be the safest course of action. If we interfere, we risk waking them. And if they're even half as dangerous as the stories say, then we'll deal with it," Naira said firmly. "We're not murderers, Vec. These people deserve a chance to live, just like anyone else. Now, help me stabilize the system." Despite his obvious reluctance, Vec obeyed, and the team worked quickly to repair the failing cryogenic systems. Naira's 4 dexterous arms moved with precision, her focus unshakable. The Ark's technology was advanced but ancient, its systems a strange mix of elegance and brutality. Naira couldn't help but marvel at the ingenuity of its creators. Just as they were making progress, an alarm blared, startling everyone. The cryopod nearest to Naira began to glow brighter, its occupant stirring. Naira's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. "Captain, we've triggered a wake sequence," Vec shouted, his voice filled with panic. "We need to get out of here, now." "No," Naira said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "If one of them is waking up, we need to be here to greet them. We need to show them we're not a threat." The pod hissed open, releasing a cloud of icy vapor. The young woman Naira had noticed earlier stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She gasped for air, her body convulsing as it adjusted to being awake after so long. Naira stepped forward cautiously, her arms raised in what she hoped was a non-threatening gesture. "Hello," Naira said, her voice gentle. "My name is Naira Kale. You're safe." The woman's eyes focused on Naira, her expression a mix of confusion and fear. She tried to speak, but her voice was hoarse and weak. Naira gestured for one of her crew to bring water, which she offered to the woman. "Drink," Naira said. "It will help." The woman hesitated but eventually accepted. The water, sipping it slowly. Her breathing steadied, and she looked around, taking in her surroundings and the strange creatures standing before her. "Who are you?" she finally managed to ask, her voice trembling. "We're explorers," Naira said. "We found your ship adrift and wanted to ensure your people were safe. Can you tell me your name?" The woman's brow furrowed as she tried to remember. "Samantha," she said after a moment. "Samantha Hayes." Naira nodded. "It's nice to meet you, Samantha. Do you know how long you've been asleep?" Samantha shook her head. "No idea. The last thing I remember is boarding this ship. We were escaping. Earth was dying, and this was our last hope." Naira exchanged a glance with Vec. "I'm sorry to tell you this, but your ship's been drifting for a very long time. Earth is gone." Samantha's eyes widened, and her hand flew to her mouth. She looked like she was about to cry but held it together, her expression hardening. "Then it's true. We're the last." "Maybe not the last," Naira said, her voice gentle. "Your people are still alive, and we'll do everything we can to help you." Samantha's gaze locked onto Naira's, her eyes narrowing. "Why? Why would you help us? What do you want in return?" Naira hesitated, surprised by the intensity of the question. "We're explorers," she repeated. "We seek knowledge, not conquest. We're not your enemies, Samantha." Before Samantha could respond, another alarm blared, louder and more urgent than before. The Ark systems were failing again, and this time it was more severe. Lights flickered, and the hum of machinery grew louder. "Captain, we need to get out of here," Vec said urgently. "The whole ship is destabilizing." "Not without the humans," Naira said firmly. "Samantha, can you help us? Do you know how to stabilize the ship?" Samantha shook her head. I don't know. But if you can get me to the command center, I might be able to figure it out." "Then let's move," Naira said, her voice resolute. She turned to her team. "Stay on high alert and follow my lead." As they made their way through the Ark's labyrinthine corridors, the ship's systems continued to deteriorate. The lights dimmed further, and strange noises echoed through the halls, making everyone's nerves fray. Samantha walked beside Naira, her determination growing with each step. Despite her fear and confusion, there was a fire in her eyes that Naira couldn't help but admire. They reached the command center, a large, circular room filled with ancient consoles and holographic displays. Samantha approached the main console, her fingers trembling as she began to work. The alien technology was unfamiliar, but her engineering background allowed her to make educated guesses. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Vec asked, his voice low. "What if she's lying? What if this is a trap?" "She's not lying," Naira said firmly. "And even if she were, we don't have a choice. If we don't act now, everyone on this ship dies." Samantha worked quickly, her focus unwavering. She muttered to herself as she deciphered the controls, her hands flying across the console. Finally, she hit a series of buttons, and the alarms ceased. The lights brightened, and the hum of machinery stabilized. "I think that did it," Samantha said, her voice shaky but triumphant. "The systems should hold for now." Naira placed a hand on Samantha's shoulder, her mandibles clicking in approval. "Well done, Samantha. You've just saved your people." Samantha looked at her, a small, tentative smile forming on her lips. "Thanks. But we're not out of the woods yet, are we?" "No," Naira admitted. "But we're one step closer. And as long as we work together, we'll find a way." As they prepared to regroup and plan their next steps, none of them noticed the faint red lights beginning to blink on one of the consoles, or the subtle change in the ark's hum. Something had been activated, something ancient, something powerful, and something that had been meant to stay dormant. Samantha, Naira, and the rest of the team were about to learn just how dangerous waking the humans could be. The faint red lights that had begun to blink on the ark's console were anything but benign. Deep within the ancient ship, dormant systems began to awaken, their low hum resonating like the stirring of a beast from slumber. Naira Kale and her team were oblivious to the shift, focused as they were on stabilizing the ship and ensuring the survival of its human passengers. Samantha Hayes, however, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. "Captain," Samantha said, glancing over her shoulder. "I'm not sure if this system is fully stable. There's something else running in the background. Something I can't identify." Naira tilted her head, her mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "Can you isolate it?" Samantha frowned, her fingers dancing across the console. "I'm trying, but it's buried deep. It's almost like," her voice trailed off as a chill ran down her spine. "It's almost like it's alive." Before Naira could respond, the ark's lights flickered and then surged, bathing the command center in a harsh, red glow. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber, speaking in a language that Naira's translators couldn't fully decipher but whose tone conveyed unmistakable authority. "Activation sequence initiated. Defensive protocols engaged." Samantha's heart sank. "Defensive protocols? Captain, we need to shut this down now." Naira moved to assist, her limbs working in unison with Samantha's as they scrambled to override the system. Vec and the rest of the team stood guard, their weapons at the ready, but the sense of unease in the room was palpable. The ship shuddered violently, throwing everyone off balance. Naira steadied herself with her upper arms while gripping the console with her lower ones. "What's happening?" she demanded. Samantha's fingers flew over the controls, her breathing rapid. "I don't know. It's like the ship's AI has taken over. It's locking us out." "Captain," Vec called, his voice tight with fear. "We've got movement." Naira turned to see a series of hatches opening along the walls of the command center. From within emerged sleek, humanoid machines, their metallic bodies gleaming in the red light. They moved with unnerving precision, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. "Weapons up," Naira ordered, drawing her own sidearm. "Samantha, can you disable them?" Samantha shook her head, panic flashing in her eyes. "I can't even access the system, let alone control it." The machines advanced, their steps synchronized and deliberate. Naira's team opened fire, their energy weapons lighting up the room, but the machines were fast, their movements fluid and unpredictable. Sparks flew as shots glanced off their reinforced armor. "Fall back," Naira shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We'll regroup and come up with a new plan." The team retreated into the corridor, their footsteps echoing against the metal walls. The machines pursued relentlessly, their glowing eyes piercing through the dim light. Naira led the group, her mind racing. She had faced countless threats in her career, but nothing like this. The Ark was a fortress, and its defenses were formidable. "Samantha," Naira said as they ran, "if we can't shut the system down, can we at least slow it down? Buy ourselves some time?" Samantha's brow furrowed as she considered the question. "Maybe. If I can get to another console, I might be able to overload one of the subsystems. It'll be risky, though." "Do it," Naira said without hesitation. "We'll cover you." They ducked into a side room, barricading the door behind them. Samantha immediately went to work on the nearest console, her fingers moving with frantic precision. The rest of the team took up defensive positions, their weapons trained on the door. The sound of metal scraping against metal grew louder as the machines began to breach the barricade. Naira felt her mandibles tighten. Time was running out. Almost there, Samantha muttered, her voice taut with concentration. Just a little more. The barricade gave way, and the machines poured into the room. Naira and her team opened fire, their weapons blazing. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and the sound of energy blasts. One by one, the machines fell, but for every one they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Samantha, now would be a good time, Naira shouted. Got it. Samantha yelled, slamming her hand down on the console. The lights flickered, and the machines froze mid-step, their bodies locked in place. Naira didn't waste a moment. Move out. Before they reboot. The team sprinted down the corridor, leaving the immobilized machines behind. Samantha's temporary fix had bought them precious minutes, but Naira knew it wouldn't last. They needed a more permanent solution. Captain, Vec said, his voice breathless. Where are we going? Naira glanced at Samantha. The central core. If we can disable the AI from there, we might be able to shut down the defenses. Samantha nodded. It's our best shot. But it won't be easy. The core will be heavily protected. Then we'll fight our way through, Naira said, her tone resolute. We didn't come this far to give up now. As they made their way to the core, the ship seemed to react to their presence. Doors slammed shut behind them, cutting off escape routes. The air grew colder, and a low, ominous hum filled the corridors. Naira couldn't shake the feeling that the Ark itself was alive, a malevolent force determined to destroy them. When they finally reached the core, they found themselves facing a massive, spherical chamber. At its center was a glowing, pulsating structure that radiated energy. Surrounding it were dozens of machines, their forms even more advanced and imposing than the ones they had encountered before. This is it, Samantha said, her voice barely above a whisper. The core. And the heart of the Ark, Naira said, her eyes narrowing. If we take it out, the entire system will shut down. Samantha hesitated. It might also destroy the ship. And everyone on board. Naira's mandibles clicked as she weighed the risks. Do we have another option? Samantha shook her head. Not unless we can find a way to override the AI without damaging the core. But that would take time we don't have. Naira's gaze swept over her team, their faces a mixture of determination and fear. She took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. Then we'll do it the hard way. We'll take out the machines and give Samantha the time she needs to override the system. The team moved into position, their weapons ready. The machines guarding the core activated, their glowing eyes locking onto the intruders. Naira raised her weapon, her voice ringing out with unwavering determination. For the survival of all species, she said. Let's end this. The battle for the Ark's core erupted with a ferocity that dwarfed every skirmish they'd faced so far. The machines guarding the core were faster, stronger, and more intelligent than the ones they had encountered earlier. They moved like liquid metal, adapting to the team's attacks with terrifying precision. Naira Kale led the charge, her energy weapon blazing as she dodged and weaved through the fray. Samantha, how much time do you need? Naira shouted over the din of battle. Samantha Hayes was already at the central console, her fingers a blur as she worked to override the RE systems. Sweat dripped down her forehead, and her breathing was ragged, but she didn't look up. I don't know. 10 minutes, maybe 15 if nothing else goes wrong. We don't have 10 minutes. Vec called out, firing his weapon at a machine that had flanked their position. The blast hit its mark, but the machine barely staggered before advancing again. These things are relentless. Naira gritted her mandibles and turned to her team. Hold the line. Protect Samantha at all cost. Her crew responded with a chorus of affirmatives, rallying around the console to form a defensive perimeter. The machines pressed harder, their glowing eyes and fluid movements giving them an almost ghostly quality. Naira's arms ached from the constant recoil of her weapon, but she refused to falter. The stakes were too high. A massive explosion rocked the chamber as one of the machines detonated, sending shrapnel flying. Naira barely managed to shield Samantha in time, her lower arms bracing against the console while her upper arms held her weapon steady. "Samantha, whatever you're doing, do it faster." "I'm trying." Samantha snapped, her voice tinged with desperation. "The Ari's defenses are like nothing I've ever seen. It's adapting to everything I throw at it." Naira's compound eyes scanned the battlefield, searching for an opening. She spotted a cluster of machines advancing in unison, their movements perfectly synchronized. With a sharp command, she directed one of her crew to lob a plasma grenade into their midst. The explosion tore through the group, buying them a few precious seconds. But the reprieve was short-lived. The remaining machines adapted, altering their formations and tactics. They began to target specific members of the team, attempting to break the defensive perimeter. One of Naira's crew, a stalwart fighter named Tress, was caught off guard by a flanking maneuver. The machine's blade-like arm pierced Tress's armor, and he fell with a pained cry. "Tress is down," Vec shouted, his voice tinged with panic. "Keep fighting," Naira ordered, her voice steel. She dragged Tress behind cover, her mandibles clicking in frustration. "We can't afford to lose anyone else." Tress nodded weakly, his breathing shallow but determined. I'll manage, Captain. Just finish this." Naira's gaze hardened as she returned to the fray. She focused on the largest machine, a towering figure that seemed to command the others. Its movements were deliberate, almost regal, and its attacks were devastating. Naira realized that if they could take it down, it might disrupt the rest of the machines. "Vec, with me," Naira shouted, charging toward the giant machine. Vec followed without hesitation, his weapon trained on the target. The two of them unleashed a barrage of fire, aiming for the machine's joints and weak points. The creature staggered but didn't fall, its glowing eyes locking onto Naira with chilling intensity. The machine lunged, its massive arm swinging in a wide arc. Naira ducked and rolled, narrowly avoiding the strike. Vec wasn't as lucky. The blow sent him crashing into a wall, where he slumped to the ground, unconscious. Naira's mandibles clicked in anger as she fired a concentrated blast at the machine's chest. The shot penetrated its armor, and the machine let out a metallic screech before collapsing in a heap. The other machines hesitated, their movements faltering as if they had lost their connection to a central command. Naira seized the opportunity. "Samantha, now." "Almost there," Samantha yelled, her fingers flying over the controls. The console's holographic interface flickered and shifted as she bypassed the Ari's final layers of defense. Just a few more seconds. The remaining machines began to recover, their movements growing more coordinated. Naira's team was running out of ammunition, their energy weapons overheating from constant use. Naira knew they couldn't hold out much longer. "Samantha," Naira roared, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Got it," Samantha cried triumphantly, slamming her hand down on the console. The core's glow intensified, and a wave of energy pulsed through the room. The machines froze mid-action, their glowing eyes dimming as they powered down. For a moment, there was silence. Naira's team stared at the inert machines, their breaths ragged and their bodies trembling with exhaustion. Samantha slumped against the console, her face pale but triumphant. "Did we do it?" Vec asked weakly, regaining consciousness as Naira helped him to his feet. Naira surveyed the room, her mandibles clicking thoughtfully. The core's energy had stabilized, and the machines showed no signs of reactivating. "We did it. The AI is offline." Samantha managed a weak smile. "And the ship?" Naira gestured to the core. "Still intact, thanks to you. We'll need to assess the damage, but for now, the Ark and its people are safe." The team's relief was short-lived. A low rumble echoed through the chamber, and the core began to pulse erratically. Samantha's eyes widened as she checked the console. Captain? We have a problem." Naira's mandibles clicked in irritation. "What now?" "The AI, it's not fully gone. I think it's trying to reboot itself." Samantha's voice was laced with urgency. "We need to shut this thing down completely, or it's going to come back stronger." Naira stared at the core, her mind racing. They had already given everything they had to reach this point. Could they endure another fight? She turned to her team, their faces a mix of exhaustion and determination. "We've come this far," Naira said, her voice firm. "We finish this. Together." The team nodded, their resolve unwavering. Samantha adjusted the console, preparing to deliver the final blow to the AI. Naira and her crew readied their weapons, bracing for whatever came next. The Ark's core pulsed brighter, its energy building to a crescendo. The final confrontation was about to begin. The Ark's core pulsed with a blinding intensity, bathing the chamber in a kaleidoscope of energy and sound. Naira Kale and her team braced themselves as Samantha Hayes worked feverishly at the console, her determination unwavering despite the chaos around her. The air crackled with tension, and the faint hum of the rebooting AI grew louder with every passing second. "Samantha," Naira called, her voice cutting through the cacophony, "if we're going to stop this thing, now is the time." Samantha didn't look up, her fingers flying across the console. "I'm almost there. Just keep those machines off me a little longer." But there were no machines left to fight. The Ari's defenses had been temporarily disabled, giving them a brief but crucial window of opportunity. Naira's crew stood ready, weapons aimed at the inert sentinels lining the walls, waiting for any sign of reactivation. The tension in the room was palpable, every second stretching into an eternity. Finally, Samantha let out a triumphant cry. "I've got it. I've found the Ari's central code. I can purge it from the system, but it'll overload the core. The energy release will destabilize the ship." Naira stepped forward, her mandibles clicking decisively. "What does that mean for us?" Samantha's expression was grim. "It means we'll have to evacuate. Once I trigger the purge, we'll have minutes, maybe less, before the ship's systems collapse." Naira glanced at her team, their faces resolute despite their exhaustion. She turned back to Samantha. "Do it. We'll get everyone out." Samantha nodded, her fingers moving one last time over the console. "Purge sequence initiated," she announced. The core's glow shifted from bright white to an angry red, its hum escalating into a deafening roar. Warning lights flashed throughout the chamber, and the ship trembled violently. "Move!" Naira shouted, leading her team out of the core chamber. Samantha was right behind her, the console sparking and hissing as the purge took effect. The corridors of the Ark were a blur of flashing lights and alarms as the group sprinted toward the docking bay. The cryopods lining the halls glowed faintly, their occupants still in peaceful slumber. Naira felt a pang of guilt as she passed them, knowing they couldn't save everyone. But Samantha's quick thinking had already ensured the Ark's primary life support systems would remain operational even after the Ari's destruction. The humans would survive at least, though still asleep. "Captain," Vec called out, his voice strained, "we've got less than a minute before the ship's core goes critical." "Almost there," Naira replied, her focus unshakable. "Keep moving." They burst into the docking bay, where the Erythian asterisk awaited. The ship's boarding ramp extended, and Naira's crew wasted no time scrambling aboard. Samantha hesitated at the base of the ramp, her gaze lingering on the Ark. "Samantha, let's go," Naira urged. I wish we could," Samantha's voice faltered as she looked back at the sleeping humans. Then, with a deep breath, she turned and ran up the ramp. The Erythian asterisk launched just as the Ark's core erupted in a spectacular burst of energy. The shockwave rippled outward, sending fragments of the ancient ship spinning into the void. Naira and her team watched from the safety of their ship, the brilliant light of the explosion reflected in their eyes. For a long moment, no one spoke. The bridge was silent except for the steady hum of the Erythian S engines. Naira finally broke the silence, turning to Samantha. "You did it," Naira said, her tone a mix of admiration and relief. "The AI is gone, and the humans are safe." Samantha nodded, though her expression was somber. "Safe, but still asleep. Still waiting for a future we can't promise." Naira placed a reassuring hand on Samantha's shoulder. "They have a future because of you. And when they wake, they'll have the chance to shape it for themselves." Samantha met Naira's gaze, her eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and determination. Thank you. For believing in me. For giving us a chance. Naira's mandibles twitched in what passed for a smile among her kind. We're explorers, Samantha. It's what we do. We don't just study the unknown, we fight for it, protect it, and ensure it has a chance to thrive. As the Erythian drifted away from the wreckage of the Ark, the crew began to assess the damage and plan their next steps. The mission had been costly, but it had also been a success. They had faced one of the galaxy's greatest dangers and emerged victorious, not through brute force, but through courage, ingenuity, and cooperation. Naira looked out at the stars, her mind turning to the countless other challenges that awaited them in the vast expanse of the universe. For all its dangers, the galaxy was also a place of infinite possibility. And as long as there were people like Samantha Hayes and her crew, there was hope. The moral of their journey was clear: survival is not just about strength or intelligence, but about the choices one makes in the face of adversity. By choosing compassion over fear, understanding over violence, and unity over division, they had not only saved lives but also reaffirmed the values that made exploration worthwhile. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Naira felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity's story was far from over, and neither was theirs. Together, they would continue to navigate the unknown, driven by the unshakable belief that the universe, for all its darkness, was worth fighting for.